Douglas Show. And I have with me today Brandon, better known as I Am Rant from Twitter. How are you, my friend?
Afternoon, gentlemen. Thanks for having me, Doug.
Absolutely. And my brethren, Doug Rose, is on Fan Ambassador. How are you doing, Doug?
I'm doing pretty good, Doug, man. I love the name, I got to say, first and foremost. It's as good as it
Obvious,
gets.
obviously. It is not often that I am jealous of a man's beard. We will take a minute to admire the beauty. For those of you that aren't watching on YouTube that are checking the pod, listen, Doug's beard has shamed us to the point that I might shave when we're done. It is at least nipple length on its way to belly button length.
That's
It
where
is some beautiful shade of pewter, if I can explain it properly for the folks at home. It is a
yeah,
beautiful.
that's where it's headed.
How long has that thing been growing there, my friend?
Well, I started it about 6 years ago, and I trim it twice a year. So in 6 years, I usually do about 2 inches at a time. So I have shaved a good foot, or trimmed a good foot off of it in the last 6 years. So it'd be a lot longer than what it is now without that. So
I,
yeah,
I have
six
had
years.
mine, bottom of the neck, top of the chest level before.
Right.
It is a lot of work. I've also had
Absolutely,
hair
man.
down the middle of my back. That beard is a lot more work than long hair.
Yes,
Brandon,
sir.
how long has the beard gotten for you?
I haven't fully actually shaved, like bare razor shaved my face probably in over a decade, but the longest I can grow mine is not much longer than this, or it just gets wild and like bushy looking. I don't have the nice maintained look like Doug's got over there. He must use a couple different skincare products, or he's got a
I
couple
do.
different lineup or something. Because my shit goes like wild, man. I don't even know how I could even. You're a level above me. There's no other way to say it.
He's a couple levels again above both of us. He's got a real Gandalf thing going on, which I love.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
it,
love it.
man. I'm a big Lord of the Rings mark. I'll take that as a compliment. Yeah, but I use some
You
beard
should.
balms,
It was
man,
said as a
and
compliment.
I actually have a boar hair brush that I use to brush it multiple times a day with that beard balm. It's a lot of work, man. It really is. And the older I get, the more I kind of wonder if it's worth it. But hopefully one day I'll get an audience to play for ZZ Top or something. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think beard wise anyway, I can hang with those guys.
I ain't no doubt it. And listen, somebody's got to give you some kind of beard balm sponsorship. I mean, yeah, we got to work that thing out.
Hey,
All right.
that
Well,
sounds like
listen,
a plan.
we're here for the football team. Let's start with this, Doug. You are part of the fan ambassador deal. Tell us how that happened. And I know there are definitely different roles that everybody has. What is yours?
All right. Well, it started. A friend of mine nominated me for this. I knew there would be thousands of applicants, and to be honest with you, Doug, I didn't think I stood a shot. And then just out of the blue, 2 or 3 weeks after my nomination, I received an email from Mr. Joey Begovitz, the Executive Vice President of Entertainment for the Washington football team, saying I had been selected as a semifinalist and that he wanted to do a one-on-one Zoom interview. I thought, well, cool. It's an honor to make it this far. So a week or so after the email, I did the interview. We hit it off really well. I know Doug Williams was also a part of this in the selection process. I have yet to meet Doug, which I hope to one day. One of my childhood heroes. Um, but yeah, man. And then it was probably 3 weeks after my interview that I got an email said I had been selected. Man, I mean, this all just went in the blink of an eye, really. And I was so shocked, but so honored to be chosen. And what it is there are 7 categories. And I really love that the team has done this, man, because really all of us ambassadors in the 7 different categories, all we do is really reach out, get to know other fans, and take opinions on whatever our category is to the team. Now, we don't have all this pull and We're not chasing cloud or anything like that. It's just we're all basically fans who have been, just gotten tired of the way things have become. Our once proud franchise, hit rock bottom. It's been there for a while. So, I can speak for myself personally. I mean, I can tell you guys, I had given up social media for a long time until the name change. Okay. So then I started a new Twitter account, which is my current Twitter. When I interviewed with Mr. Begovich, I had 9 well, I'm up to almost 700 now in this short amount of time. They're almost all Washington fans. And the way I look at my priority, I'm part of the family category, by the way. And our responsibility is to come up with different ways to make game day more entertaining for families. Okay. So as soon as we had our first Zoom meeting as a group with the Fan Ambassador Network, I sent a tweet out and it was retweeted dozens of times, and I've got dozens upon dozens of suggestions. I noted every single suggestion, whether I liked it or not, whether I agreed with it or not. I want every Washington fan to be able to have a voice, and I'm just kind of a representation of that voice, man. And I couldn't be more honored to be part of it. And I'm looking forward to seeing, what's going on. Right now, I'm in my car. I'm on my way to the Friday Night Light football. We have a really quick in-person meeting at 5:30. The Fan Ambassador Network, we're getting polos and this stuff. We'll talk a little bit about what we're doing next. But as far as myself, and there are 6 others in my category, which we're all going to be meeting for the first time in person today. We're going to come up with some ideas and talk about ideas that's been suggested to us over social media. And, we're just really excited to be a part of it. Just when it comes down to it, we're a representation of the millions of Washington football fans across the globe.
Brandon, it feels like the turnaround for the franchise. I mean, for those of us that have been following for a long time, it's incredible. Does it feel like they're hitting the right notes here?
It seems like they're trying to, they're doing what they need to do to get back the fan base that we are a proud fan base. And I think that shows, we've stuck through a long time. If you're still a Redskins fan or a Washington fan, at this point you've stuck around through the misery. So you're a hardcore fan, if you're still around. So for them to reconnect and try to see, about continuing those traditions, and then, Doug mentioned football and family. Family is one of the main things. Football Sunday at my house, is talking about how can we connect to that next generation of fan base. And I think that's really important for a bunch of people that, I don't live locally. I'm in California, but I know that Washington probably isn't the most popular team anymore. You probably have younger kids growing up looking at the Ravens or other teams that are winning and more successful. So, it's good that they're reaching out and trying to reconnect to we have a long tenured, franchise, even though the name's changing. Hopefully we can keep that tradition of having a proud franchise and fan base, keep that strong. So it seems like they're trying to do that, which is awesome. And I mean, it's still at the early stages, but I would say so far that effort alone is much better than we were getting before. So I gotta say, it's as of now, it's a success for sure.
Brandon, you brought up the name change. We won't spend a ton on it just because we don't know anything, so we can throw our favorites out there, but it's hard to really know sometimes. I'll say this, I long had thought that it'd be Washington football team just because it's hard to offend people if you just go by Washington football team. But we had Smoot on, and God bless him, he is a proud Red Wolves guy, and he spent a bunch of time with us, and it's not so much about whether it will end up being Red Wolves or Wolves. But I will say this, he spent a lot of time talking to us about needing to recapture the youth. And so I do think that we don't spend enough time, like Sentinels is the new one bouncing around Twitter today. And frankly, the helmet is maybe my favorite that I've seen yet that they did. That guy, Decent Steve, does an incredible job. But I think that it's fair to recognize that finding something that will really entice young kids to buy merchandise and root for the fan base. I really am set on the idea that whatever the name is, it won't be for guys like us, right? It'll be making sure that the next generation is excited and push through. Doug, I think your microphone is off, but if you'll turn that on, we'll get your opinion on that. Brandon, we'll go with you first until we can get Doug's microphone on.
Sure. As far as the name change,
there it is. Go ahead, Doug. What do you think about that?
Oh, sorry about that. No, I agree with you completely, Doug. Right now my son's actually driving while I'm doing this. He's 20, and he's the fourth generation member of our family to be a Washington fan. And he can tell you he didn't have a single friend in high school that was a Washington fan. And I'm telling you, man, when we were growing up, almost all of us were Redskin fans, man. I mean, there was no Carolina Panthers. There was no Tennessee Titans. So even where I live, I'm in Virginia, but I'm 6 hours away from D.C. I'm in the far southwest corner of the state. My city is actually split down the middle between the Virginia and Tennessee state lines. Okay.
Bristol.
So I live in Bristol.
Bristol. That's right. Sure.
Yep. The Redskins were our local team as well, even being that far away from the DMV area. And we were all Redskin fans. And my son went through his entire childhood. And don't get me wrong, the 2012 season, the stretch run at the end of the year was fun with RG3 and all that. But that is the bright spot for my son's fandom at 20 years old. So they have, the younger generation, this new young adults, man, they've pardon the pun, flocked to the Ravens and things like that. So they are and I've been able to talk a little bit with the team president, Jason Wright, and Mr. Begovich and stuff. And they really are trying to please all fans. But I think that the younger generation, trying to get them back in, that's really their main focus.
Go ahead, jump in there, Brandon.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, we're the guys with the disposable income right now, but they also know we're the ones taking our kids to the game. So they know they've got us for another 20 or 30, but they're trying to get those kids and their kids for the next 50 to 60 and plus. So I think it's smart, man. I'm not sure what the name's going to be. I mean, my favorite would be Wolves. When Red Wolves was picking up steam, I always thought the Wolves version of it was cool because, you sometimes you want to keep a tradition. It's nice to keep certain things, but then sometimes we overvalue other things, like keeping the red, and we're just trying to change the name. It would almost seem kind of like a, finger on the nose to the NFL if we kept it anything too closely tied to the previous name. But I thought I like the double W's, I thought they might even do like a curly W, pay homage to the Washington area. Still keep the burgundy and gold as a tradition. And then, there's a lot of cool marketing concepts that you can do behind it. I thought the really important thing that is missing has been unity among the fan base. I know not everyone's going to be happy with whatever the name is, but I just think that the name is going to have to incorporate something where you can do an identity for the fan base, some way to really bring the fans back in, something appealing that they can do. And, I think Wolves really does that. They could run with a ton of different marketing slogans. Doesn't have to be color specific. I think just the cool alliteration. I think no matter what the name is, we're all going to get on board because it's going to be our team no matter what.
That's right.
Like I said, we're all hardcores at this point. But there is an opportunity to do some really cool stuff and some really cool marketing and branding. So I'm excited about it. I think they have an opportunity. If we do something like the Guardians, how the Indians went to the Guardians, I think that was they didn't put enough time and effort into it. They had an opportunity, and in my opinion, changing it was good if that's what they wanted to do. But if we come after this big old, in fan ambassadors and input and everything to something that kind of weak, I think it's going to be strong. It has to be. We've taken this long to develop it.
Well, and that's it. It's been a long time coming on this thing. 2 years ago, a lot of time, and Indians fans I know in Cleveland just wanted them to switch to the Spiders, the old Negro League baseball team there. They had an opportunity to do that. It's interesting. We'll wrap up on the name with this. Vegas still has Red Tails in the number one spot, which is really odd to me because amongst the fan base, you haven't heard about it in years since like the name change first came around. So I'm surprised by that. But of course, Vegas doesn't put odds on things for no reason either. So I'm surprised by that. I still think anything red is out. And more, I think that leaving it Washington football team or football club allows Redskin folk to continue wearing their Redskin gear because they haven't switched mascots. And I think that's a problem, whether they want to admit that or not. All right, let's do this. Let's get to some actual on the field stuff. I have written a list of things down here just for fun, and we'll get your opinion on it. Let's start with this. I've got Ryan Fitzpatrick will throw for 4,500 yards and 30 touchdowns this year. Doug, high, low, what do you think?
I'm gonna say push, man. I like those numbers. I think that's right around where he's gonna be if he stays healthy and he's allowed to. He's given that opportunity, and there's no real battle there. I like those numbers, man. He's got some wins. I really, honest to goodness, believe it's the best team he's been on in his long career.
Go ahead, Brandon.
Okay, so I do think that that is a pretty good number. I think there is potential for him to hit that. I'm gonna actually take the under though, but not as a slight to Fitzpatrick. I'm gonna take it as our defense is just going to be so dominant, man. I don't foresee us having to play from behind very much, where he's going to have a bunch of huge yards. I mean, God bless his heart. We had Kirk Cousins over here. He could throw for 1,000,000 yards, but I think he got like 15 touchdowns. So I think the touchdowns part matters more. I think 30 touchdowns would be huge, but I also think we have Gibson, who's, he is no slouch, man, and he gets down in that red zone. He has a knack for getting the ball in there, and then like you both Dougs mentioned the weapons, So I think the yards and the touchdowns might be a little bit high, but it's more so because our defense isn't going to have us out there trying to win a shootout. I don't think we're going to need, gunslinger Fitz to show up every game. Hopefully, knock on wood. So
yeah, it's interesting. You have to always remember too, there's an extra game this year, 17 games. So numbers should be it's weird to remember to think about it that way, but that's kind of how I got there. It's interesting. I've heard Ron say this a bunch of times. They were there together in Carolina. He has said several times that he has studied what they've done in Buffalo, kind of as the way they're looking at the rebuild. Now, I know they got Jonathan Allen, so it's just a little bit different than what we've done currently. But the concept is, Billy Beane, the general manager up there in Buffalo, said, he and McDermott, that they would love to win defensive football battles 17-14 as well. It's just not the way. I mean, you have a heart attack and grow old in the NFL. That's how you're trying to win games, is by defensive slugfest. So I do think no matter what Ron says, they want to score points and push the ball down the field, and it's exactly why they've got Fitz in there. Brandon, let's look at this. Interestingly enough, Terry had 4 touchdowns last year. It seemed, he had a big year, 80 some receptions, over 1,000 yards, only 4 touchdowns. So I have set the over under touchdowns for Terry at 5.
I'm going over that for sure.
When I did this, 5 seemed like the over seems like it's easy to take, but you got Dyami Brown, who should eat up targets. You've got Curtis Samuel, who should eat up targets. I can't say enough. McKissick had 80 receptions last year. So, I mean, who knows what's going to happen there. So, yes, it feels like the over should be easy, but a lot of weapons on it. It seems weird to say that there are a lot of weapons on the team this year.
It's that, to me, it's that double-edged sword almost, where we have more weapons now. So it's how much coverage is going to be drawn away from McLaurin now to possibly open him up. Maybe down in the red zone, he's getting doubled a lot, or, he's getting a lot of safety help and stuff like that. So maybe now with the emergence of a Curtis Samuel or a Dyami Brown, maybe those safeties can't shade over as close. So I'm hoping that I understand where you're saying that the targets might go down. I think you might be right, but maybe his touchdown numbers per route go up, because if he had 100 targets last year, I want to say, or
That seems fair. I know the receptions, I think when I looked were at 87.
right. Yeah. So I know he
I mean,
didn't catch
100
everything,
targets.
obviously, but yeah, and only 4 touchdowns. That's 4 touchdowns every time, or 1 touchdown
I
the
was
balls
surprised
every
when I looked
25.
and saw the number at 4.
Yeah, that seems weird for it to be that low, but kind of back to my point, I think Gibson, when we got the ball down there towards the red zone, they were feeding him, and he was a monster down there.
He ate up touchdowns, no doubt. The other one I have here, which I think would be interesting, is Logan Thomas. I have it at over under 6 touchdowns.
You want to get Doug for
Let's
his
get. We got Doug back. Now we'll go.
Sorry
We'll
about
switch
that,
a little.
guys.
Now you're fine, Doug. We're playing a little bit of over under here. We just got through with Terry. We're talking about Terry only had 4 touchdowns last year, which is surprising. So I put the over under number there at 5.
Over.
I
believe when by the time this.
Well, let's do this, Brandon. Logan Thomas at over under 6 touchdowns.
Logan Thomas. I'm gonna go with over also. Now you got me thinking about that extra game in there. And how many did he have last year? I feel like he had similar to that last year.
I think it was 6, which is why I put the number there.
Okay, yeah, I think he's going to go with more. They obviously love that guy. They really love him. They re-signed him or extended him, and I think he's going to be. We hear about that Norv Turner offense. That Air Coryell coached offense. The tight end is a big part of that offense. Antonio Gates made a living in that offense. So if they really like Logan as much as it seems like they do, I think he's primed for a big year. 6 seems low. 6 seems way low.
And it's interesting too because the quarterback loves throwing to tight ends too. Loves it. And it's interesting. We were talking about Terry. I jumped back there real quick. We've been doing a fantasy football episode each week, and when you talk to the fantasy football guys, I've asked them. I said, "Well, there's so many more weapons now. What does that do for the usage and the target share for McLaurin?" And he said, basically, they all say the same thing. If you just go look at the history of numbers, it won't matter. Number one receivers get targets. And particularly with Fitzpatrick, if you go back and look at his number one receivers the last 4 years, I mean, you're looking at like 120, 140, 180 targets to number one receivers by Fitzpatrick. I mean, it is just insane, the number.
Is that back to your point about this being the best team he's ever been on, though?
Maybe. And he said it.
Yeah.
I actually have, I got it here on my notes. I used to do these Call Me Crazy segments. This is kind of more like that. I think Dyami Brown leads the team in receiving touchdowns.
That's not a bad prediction, Doug. I mean, from everything I've read so far, what little bit I got to see at training camp, the kid's explosive, man. I think that's why I felt, going back to what you were talking about with what could Fitz's numbers be. I mean, I think we're going to see a lot more Gibson, going out rounds. That's going to be but I've seen published so far. Everybody's high around, man. I think he's going to have a year.
It's interesting with Gibson. They specifically said, they did not ask him to run a ton of routes last year because they just wanted to learn how to be a running back. So to your point, I definitely would expect to see him going out for a whole lot more routes. Let's switch to the defensive side. I've got on here, Cole Holcomb will lead the league in tackles.
The league or the team?
The team.
Oh, I thought you said the league.
I think he'll lead the team in tackles for sure. I think I did say league, but I meant to say team.
Okay. Well, either way, I mean, shoot, if he's leading, that's a lot. That's a lot. I'm hoping Jamin Davis becomes that guy for us, But Cole Holcomb, just to do that, if that means he's staying healthy, and that would be big for us because when he was healthy, he was a different play. Made a difference when he was in there. He was out. I don't remember exactly how many games he was out last year, but I know when he was out, our defense was towards the beginning of the year when our defense was still trying to find itself with those moving pieces at safety and the linebackers really trying to find a home. But I mean, I could see it. It would have to be meaning he's healthy. So if that happens, that's a
Yeah.
good thing for sure.
I think a lot of two linebacker looks this season with
With
just depth.
Jamin and Cole.
Yeah. I think they're going to run a ton of that Buffalo nickel, and I think they're going to try to get more of the defensive linemen on. I think they'll be happy with two linebackers. I've said that a while now, and I totally believe it. I think you can see 5 defensive linemen on the field a bunch, and I think you'll see 5 DBs, whatever they are, whatever you want to call them, on the field a bunch with just one linebacker.
If we run some 5-2 looks, man, that would be. We got the guys to do it.
I've been calling it the shark attack defense.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah. I can see a scenario where they've got Jonathan Allen playing end a bunch this year, so they can get those tackles in.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've had the same thought process that we'll see him a lot at end this year.
Yeah,
Him
we
and
do need a
Smith
solid
Williams.
third.
Smith
Yeah.
Williams, I think, is going to have a big year too. They like him. That's why Kerrigan's not here. I mean, that's
agreed.
why.
Yep.
I have here. I have Jonathan Allen leading the team in sacks this year.
I'm leaning towards Montez. I think Montez is again, I always say when I'm talking number predictions, I always say if healthy. I know Chase gets all the hype, and rightfully so. And we could be watching a potential future Hall of Famer in him. Man, I like Montez's skill set. He has everything Chase does, but he's bigger, stronger, and faster. He wasn't nearly as. I mean, even though he was a first-round pick, he wasn't.
Go ahead, Brandon.
Yeah,
Montez.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think I'm right there with you, Doug. Montez has that same skill set that Chase has. I mean, he may not be as thick and strong, but he's bigger and faster. And so that skill set, I think a lot of people are going to look at the sack numbers to see, but it's really going to be an indication of who the better teammate is on the line, because I think these guys are going to get funneled sacks. When John Allen beats a guard on his one-on-one, that quarterback's either got to step up and eat that sack, or he's going to walk right into Sweat or Young. So, the Sweat numbers or the sack numbers aren't necessarily a big indicator of who's going to be the best, but I think Montez is going to have the best numbers because he's just going to be out there. He's so quick and so long. It's ridiculous. He could just explode when these QBs try to escape out of the pocket, and Daniel Jones tries to get around the corner, and he's getting tackled behind the line of scrimmage from behind because Montez is so quick, But it's exciting, man. Montez is really
exciting. It's actually that funneling is why I have Allen at the top. I think he's actually going to be the benefit of a lot of those sacks where the edges are crashing and the quarterback, to your point, instead of rolling to side, has to step right up into the middle of the pocket. Yeah. It's funny. The next on my list here is Montez Sweat will have more sacks than Chase Young. Yeah. That was next on my list there.
Yeah, I mean, that's an easy one for me based on your last question. Yeah, I mean, I honestly believe that they'll both be double digits this year. I really do. You can't double everybody on our line. I mean, they all play such an integral part. We've already talked a lot about Allen, and Duron is just that man eater. Duron, he's 2-3 guys every play he's taken out. And that's his job, and he does it well. But man, we have got to have the fastest defensive end duo in the league. I mean, so much quickness, man. And Chase, even though there were some people down on his sack number, I mean, from the get-go, that kid was taking on double and triple teams. Now, You know, you look at the playoff game and he wasn't terribly productive, but that's not just on him. I mean, he was facing the greatest to ever do it and who was getting the ball out in 2 seconds every time he dropped back. And nobody's going to get sacks on, you know. I mean, we sacked Brady a couple times, but, you know, I've said all spring and summer long that if they're both allowed to play 17 games, they stay healthy, I absolutely believe we could be looking at a 16-17 for one, which, like I said, I think Montez leads the team, and Chase could be right there at, you know, 12-13. I mean, we could be looking at 30 sacks between the two of them. You know, that's how I feel about it.
And if the offense can give us anything, imagine this defense being able to play with a 10-point lead.
Oh, yeah. Penetier's back and just go. Oh, yeah.
Because they did not have that opportunity last year at all.
Right.
No.
I looked it up. The team scored 40 against the Cowboys. They didn't score 30 points one time. Not one time last year.
Yeah.
Other than that 40-pointer, it was all in the teens or the 20s.
When you look up how bad our quarterbacks were, yeah, our quarterback was atrocious. So
yeah, I mean, the quarterback play reminded me of the Spurrier years, man. I mean, you know, back then we had, you know, Hasselbeck putting out a 0.0 quarterback rating, and that's kind of what last year reminded me of from the quarterback position, man. I mean, there was little to no production all year long. Check down after check down, and our athletes had to make plays.
You had to feel bad for Turner because there were things he wanted to do last year, and you kind of could see it in the last 2 games that he just was not able to do early in the year because of the quarterback play. This is the last question I have here. Who's more likely to get cut, Jimmy Moreland or John Bostic?
I don't know. I'd probably lean Bostic. You know, Bostic's getting a little bit of praise early on here. I've read over the last few days here at training camp. I've never been the biggest fan of Bostic. I just, you know, I've always felt he was a little too slow. I don't dislike him, you know, but I just knew we could upgrade there. And I think our secondary is just as improved position on our team as wide receivers or anything else, man, because bringing in Jackson, he's a stud, man. He is a stud. That's been my favorite move of the offseason outside the draft because I love the Davis kid. I love that draft pick. But our secondary is going to be strong. And I think I know I'm personally high on Moreland. I have been. I could remember watching him in college. You know, I think we're going to see another big step up out of him this year, a little bit more production. So I think between those two, I think Bostic will be the one to go.
I gotta go against you, my bearded brother. I gotta think that it's Moreland on the way out, just because of how much depth that we have back there now. The addition of Collins, and I think St. Juice is really. It seems like that's the type of corner Ron really likes. Ron seems like a guy who has a mold or a preference of player and styles that he really likes, and it seems like that press corner, that bigger kind of slot corner. Jimmy Moreland's a heck of a player, and he's good when he can make a break on a ball, but he doesn't really have that size. Granted, it hasn't really hurt him. He's still not afraid to stick his nose in there and make a play on a run play. So, you know, bless his soul for that. But you know, you just can't coach size, and I feel like Ron really likes that size. And another thing, as far as why to keep Bostic, the guys are so young on that other side of the ball, where Bostic's kind of like that coach in the room for me. He's going to be the one holding Jamin Davis's hand, you know, making sure, teach him how to be a pro. We kept Thomas Davis last year, kind of. I feel kind of in that similar role.
Say that right after he did. That's what mine. And I've been saying this for a while, and I really believe this. If St. Juice can play, and he's like a Brandon Brown or Richard Sherman type, he can start working outside, which allows them to move Kendall Fuller into the nickel, where I think he's probably better suited to play. That's the only reason that I did the same thing. I said Bostic over Moreland, just because I really think sooner than later, Juice is going to start outside, which will allow them to move Fuller into the nickel where he's better suited at. But if you appreciate or look at the PFF numbers, Moreland was the second best nickel corner in the league last year. I mean, he was really good. That's why I thought it was interesting. That's why I thought it was an interesting question, because I'm not sure there's room for both of them.
Yeah, that was a good question, man.
We wrap up each show like this, and Doug, we'll start with you, and Brandon, you can go afterwards. What would make for a good season this year for the Washington football team?
You know, for me, a good season would be, of course, every year, my heart wants to say Super Bowl title, but my head says, number one, improvement on last year. And I mean, we won the division, but for me, there'll always be an asterisk there. It was a really poor division. The Eagles and the Cowboys were eat up with injuries. The Giants, I hate the Giants. The Giants swept us, and we're sitting there rooting for the Eagles on Sunday night. But that number one, first and foremost, I want to see progress. I would love to see us hit that 11-win mark. It has been so long since we've won 11 ball games in a season. And now, like you mentioned, we have an extra game, so an extra chance to do it. It's a tough one in Buffalo, but, 11 games, and even to add on to that, win a daggone playoff game. I mean, we stay healthy, we get into the playoffs. Yeah, we played Brady close last year, and we had the games against Seattle where we had a couple chances to win, in our previous playoff experiences. It's been since 2005, man, since we won a playoff game. My son was 4 years old, so he don't know what it's like to see us win a playoff game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can imagine how hyped we were sitting around TV when we had the ball last year and we were within a score late in the game. I mean, he's not got to see anything like that. And going way back to your points, I mean, little things like that, just progress. I'm not greedy, just progress. Win a playoff game, win 11 games. Those happen, man, I'm thrilled.
Yeah, I'm right there. I'm the same boat. I was looking up I was trying to find the last time we had a 10-win season. I think it was the year we won the Super Bowl. I think 91 was the last time we actually had a 10-win season. So I was thinking
we won. I'm sorry, not to interrupt you, Brandon.
No,
I apologize.
Go
I think
ahead.
we won 10 games in 99 when we won the division.
Okay.
I think we were 10-6 that year, and then next year is when we signed Dion and Bruce, and we had all the hype. Vegas had us.
Yeah.
I think we won 10 that year, but 11 was the last time. What you mentioned, last time we won 11 games was 1991. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I would love. That's the same marker I'm at. I just want to get to the playoffs and win one game in the playoffs. Just take a step forward. This franchise has always been one step forward, it seems, or a half a step forward and then two steps back. When we're 7-9 and 9-7, and we're just kind of dancing around mediocrity, and it didn't seem like we were doing anything to get above that. So I want to see what Ron can do in year two. Take what he's built already, continue build upon that foundation, and I really think we're gonna have the chance to do it, man. He's talking about still we're drilling the fundamentals. You listen to him talk at camp, he goes, we're not anywhere, we're back at square one, we're starting back at zero. We're gonna see what these guys remember from last year and build up from there. We're not gonna try to go crazy with it. I think he's taking a patient approach, a slow and steady approach, instead of feeling the pressure from the outside of, hey, you won the division. I think the pressure's there to win it again, obviously, as progress would indicate, but he's feeling that internally versus externally, and I think that's a big difference where he's able to apply pressure on our guys, and he's really progress to me is just further developing himself as the patriarch of this organization right now. The team is going to be molded in his look and style and mentality, and I'm excited of who we picked as a head coach, man. Compared to the last guy, I think I got a lot of belief in Ron Rivera, and just
Amen,
that.
brother.
It feels
Amen.
different this time.
Yeah.
What was that, Doug?
It really does.
I said it feels different this time.
Right.
We
It
kind of
feels like we're getting respect. And it's been a
Yes.
long time. I mean, from the media and from other
Yep.
coaches and teams and us old head fans, man, we can remember the glory days. And, you know, we just got to a point in this last 20, 25 years where we made the big free agent signings. We, you know, brought in the big name coaches and nothing ever worked. So we just, you know, we fell off the top of the cliff, man. And we've been down at the bottom so long, but it does, Doug. It feels different. I've been saying that. I was started saying that last year. Rivera is such a widely respected man across the league. He's old school, and I love that. I'm an old school guy myself, and I love that. And I think we're gaining that respect from the national media. I think we're headed in the direction where we won't be a laughing stock compared to, you know, the Jaguars and the perennial losers. I'm tired of that mess, man. I'm tired, and it feels good. And, you know, I'm exactly with Brandon, you know, just progress. Make that progress. The fans will come back. You know, so many of these home games over the years feel like an away game, you know, and I'm tired of that as well. Win ball games, the fans will come back.
Fellas, tell the folks at home what your Twitter handles are, where to find you, and we'll wrap the show up.
All right. Mine is WFT _ DAR WTF. That was my new Twitter handle right after the name change. But I've kept it. I've a couple people at the organizations joked about it that I've talked to. You know, every Redskin fan you guys know out there, guys, or Washington fans, excuse me, it's still a hard habit to break. You know, get them out in front of the TV, get them to the ball games this year. It's gonna be a good season.
Yeah, I'm Rand Burgundy is my Twitter. If you guys follow me, you know I'm one for conversation and some debates. So if you guys want to get spicy, come follow me. If not, don't follow me because you know I know you guys don't like being trolled. So if you know you might get trolled, you might not.
I like your content, man. So you know, you
Appreciate
got
you,
one
Doug.
fan. You got what I read. I don't do a lot of the interacting unless somebody interacts with me. Like I said, I'd kind of given up on social media, but I do read a lot. I do stalk. Excuse me. I do the same thing on Extreme Skins. I've been a member there for like since 2005. Don't do a lot of the talking unless it's just really important, but you put up good content. Give them a follow, guys.
Appreciate
Absolutely.
that. I appreciate
And,
that.
and if you go to Twitter right now and subscribe to the YouTube channel, Big Douglas Show, and you make a donation to the Hog Farmers, we're going to raffle off one of these Big Douglas Show hats. So check that out. Give that a try. We'll be doing that for the next week. Fellas, this was a hell of a lot of fun, and I appreciate you guys coming on and give us some time today.
Appreciate you, Doug.
Hey, Big Doug, man, it was an honor. I appreciate it. I'm sorry I was going in and out, being on the road, trying to get to my hotel at FedEx. But, you know, I'd love to do it again in the future. Guys, it was good to meet you. And HTT question mark. That's how I end everything I do.